Hi, guys. I just wanted to come to talk to you guys about the sad tragedy that is going on in Ukraine. Although Ukraine is in a horrific tragedy of, being attacked by Russia, there is a mini war that is going on in Ukraine against individuals of the African descent. And it's very disheartening to see that the Ukrainians who are being oppressed, who are being pretty much hunted and brutally murdered by the Russian soldiers, Ukrainians are still imposing hatred and unfair, unjustified hatred towards individuals of the African descent. And what is so heartbreaking about this and disheartening is that these individuals, these Africans, escaped tragedies in their homeland to come to a better place in Ukraine. A lot of them are students. They're good people, and they are being treated in the worst way possible simply because of the color of their skin. Many of them are being prevented from escaping Ukraine for safety. They're being told when they get to the border between Ukraine and Poland that they cannot enter into Ukraine. So even individuals are preventing them from coming into Poland for safety. They're being told that they have to stay back and fight for the Ukrainians, basically being put in the forefront of the war so that they can be the first to be brutally murdered. And yet, what makes it so devastating is that we have President Zelensky pleading with help across the world, being at the very mercy of, the United Nations, of the United States, of all these different countries around the world. Yet within Ukraine, there is hatred being imposed upon the African individuals that reside there. It is completely unacceptable. It's like a little small war that's happening because of simply the color of their skin. So this is just, it's appalling to me. And the hypocrisy that I just see in this sad situation towards individuals of the African descent. While over 500,000 people have fled Ukraine, reports of African immigrants being blocked from leaving on some routes has raised concerns of racial discrimination. So let's just take a look at something that's going on. These individuals are trying to escape for safety, and they're being blocked from leaving. Some of them are sleeping in the cold. So it says over 500,000 people have fled Ukraine since Russia invaded the country last Thursday. But video footage shows that not everyone has been able to adequately leave the country. African students took to social media to document the hurdles and hostility they faced while trying to flee, raising awareness for their plight using the hashtag Africans in Ukraine. And what's so sad is a lot of them are sleeping in the cold in very poor conditions at the border between Ukraine and Poland because they're not being allowed to enter into Poland. This is completely inhumane. It's unacceptable. And the Word of God talks about treat your neighbor as you would like to be treated. What makes it so sad is that individuals talk about the racial brutality that we see that happens to Black individuals in the community, from how African Americans are treated in terms of the legal system, in terms of police enforcement, medical system, education, in all aspects. Yet the African individuals of the African descent are hated across the entire world. Literally, the only safe place that an African can truly be is in the motherland. And even there, they face hardships as well. So it's just so sad to not really feel safe in a world that should be safe for everyone. And so let's just take a look at this. One Twitter user said some migrants have slept at the Ukraine-Poland border for 2 days and faced threats of being shot, you guys. And others noted that they have been pushed out of trains to make way for Ukrainians or blocked from entering. And when I read that about the conditions of them, facing threats of being shot and sleeping in, cold, inhumane conditions, it just started to bring me back to memories of, the poor, inhumane treatment of how individuals of the African descent were treated during slavery, when, they were ripped away from their homeland and placed on these inhumane ships, and they were all chained together, and they had to be in very horrible conditions where there was rat infestations, and a lot of just viruses and illnesses broke out amongst all of them, and they had blisters and sores all over. A lot of them vomiting, had to sleep in their urine and their vomit, and threatened to be shot and murdered if they didn't comply. And it's like, it feels as though, even though this is not as, to the gravity of what happened in those days, it just kind of brought back the memories of that, making me think back to those times of just how poor, individuals of the African descent have been treated across the entire world, as if we don't matter, as if we don't have any value in this world. And yet, when we have Ukrainians pleading for the mercy of, people around the world to help and rescue and to be their support, they yet still refuse to help their fellow brother and sister, no matter what color they are. They still treat the individuals of the African descent as if they don't matter. And it just really makes my heart hurt, because the Lord talks about in his word that he has made us all in his image, and he has made everything beautiful. So it is as if they are denying the very creation of God when they treat individuals of the African descent as poorly as they do. So let's keep looking. So this individual, Nazi, he posted this on Twitter, and he said, "Watch how they are threatening to shoot us." He said, "We are currently at Ukraine border. Their police and army refuse to let Africans cross the border into Poland, and they only allow Ukrainians. Complete discrimination from individuals from Poland." This makes absolutely no sense. And what makes it even horrible is that America is, to me, in my opinion, is there. We have soldiers there that also are not even advocating to allow, equal access. So that makes it even worse on their end as well. They should be held accountable for this also. Some have slept here for 2 days under this scorching cold weather, while many have gone back to Lviv. Unacceptable. So let's take a look at this video. In this video, you're going to see, and it's kind of hard to understand what's going on in the video, so you have to really pay attention. But what's basically going on in the video is that there are some African students that were in Ukraine, and they're trying to get safety to cross over into Poland. And, there's these individuals are from Poland trying to block them from entering simply because they're Africans. And they're trying to tell them, hey, we're just students. And they're still being prevented from coming in. They have firearms preventing them from coming in, basically threatening to shoot them. And so they have to literally sleep in these horrible cold conditions at the border because they're prevented from coming in and have any type of safety. So this is completely unacceptable. I'm gonna play just a portion of it, and then I'll play an interview, and then we will be done for this video. So they're saying we are students. So they're saying they've been there for 3 days. Look, if you see that guy, he's like pointing a gun at them. It's very sad, preventing them from even coming in to get safety. So even in the middle of war, instead of, having a heart of mercy and humanity, just a heart for humanity, they have absolutely no mercy on these individuals who are just seeking shelter, seeking safety. So there is an individual, he was an African. He's from Congo, and he's going to talk a little bit about what he experienced. He's from Congo, and he was just here. He escaped, his homeland to come to Ukraine for safety. And now, in the midst of a war, he's trying to seek safety. And yet he talks about his experience and how he basically was prevented from leaving. And just hear what he has to say. It's appalling.
So glad you're streaming with us today as thousands of people flee the violence in Ukraine. Worrying accounts now of racial discrimination are being reported throughout the evacuation efforts. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees is now confirming to us that there are cases of discrimination in admitting refugees. One Congo native saying he was discriminated against while trying to board a train out of Ukraine. Take a listen.
They even told us, like, we are going to give you guns and you're going to fight for Ukraine. I said, hi. We going to fight for Ukraine? We are not Ukrainian. We are black. So how can we fight? How can we fight for Ukraine? If we fight for Ukraine, we are going to die first because we are black. When they will see, oh, look at those black people. I think they are from they are from NATO. So we have to kill them first. So how could they think that way? Come on. Ukraine.
Wow.
So this is just absolutely appalling. They are facing racial discrimination, not only from Poland, individuals from Poland, but they're facing racial discrimination from individuals in Ukraine, trying to force them to fight in a war, basically putting them at the very forefront of the war so they can be the first to be brutally murdered for a war they have absolutely nothing to do with, simply because of the color of their skin. So this just shows clear evidence, because we have people in the chat and different people saying it's not about race, it's not, and we always have those individuals that constantly continue to deny the hatred and the brutality and the inhumane treatment of the Black individual across the world. And there needs to be a change across this entire world. We cannot truly come to peace if people in our country, in our entire world, in Ukraine and all other places, learn to love everyone, and not simply because of the color of someone's skin that they are allowed to live or to be rescued or to have humanity, basically love and mercy. So this is just completely appalling to see this happening in the middle of a war, in the middle of a tragedy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm literally speechless. All right, guys, I really am interested in hearing your take on this whole situation. God bless you. Toodaloo.